I'd like to open the, no hammer, the regular meeting of the Ojai Arts Commission. Roll call, please. Will?
All commissioners present.
Thank you. We're a dwindling group, aren't we? Let's do the pledge. You want to lead us, Will?
Look towards the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Will. We're going to just hold the public comments till after our presentation today. So we're very pleased. We had to cancel last month's meeting, but we're very pleased to have with us Colleen Amara from the Ojai Valley Arts Center. And hi, Colleen.
Hello, Smitty.
Hello. She has a little
evening.
presentation for us on the literary poetry division over there. So glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Good evening, everyone. My name is Colleen O'Mara Diamond. I am the co-founder of Hype Communications, Inc. I also serve on the Ojai Arts Center Board of Trustees. My company, Hype, is a global communications agency. Hype provides PR, marketing, social media services, as well as branding and design services to clients in entertainment, talents behind the scenes, small businesses, nonprofit organizations, as well as individuals in the arts, such as music artists, authors, writers, and designers. Next slide, please. There we go. In July 2017, almost 7 years ago, I was very lucky to find our home and property, which we call the Yellow Nest, in the Miners Oaks neighborhood of the Ojai Valley, just 10 minutes northwest from downtown Ojai. Of course, this was just before the Thomas Fire in December 2017 and the COVID-19 crisis in March 2020, so you may think that I have very good timing. When COVID hit, I moved here to Ojai with my two sons, Julian and Judah, who entered the Ojai Valley School District in fall 2021 after 18 months of lockdown. In what you can see is a very small house. So next slide, please. Both Julian and Judah have found an incredible creative community in Ojai. Both actors and performers, they have gone from one musical production to the next here in Ojai at the Ojai Art Center and at Nordhoff Junior High and High School. These musicals have included Willy Wonka, Elf, The Little Mermaid, Shrek, A Christmas Story, and Les Miserables, which just closed on Sunday and was truly incredible if you had a chance to see it. And they are gearing up for Spamalot, Alice in Wonderland, and It's a Wonderful Life all this year in 2024. Next slide, please. For me, community work is important as well, to give back to my community, particularly as a parent. So last year, in 2023, I joined the Ojai Arts Center board in a communications role. I have just started my second year on the board. As you all may know, the Ojai Arts Center has 8 branches of the arts that it represents. They are art, dance, film, literary, music, photography, theater, and youth. 2024 is the Ojai Arts Center's 85th anniversary and boasts a newly designed brand identity and logo, which I particularly love, the new pink color.
Did you make it?
I did not. There was actually a contest and an artist was chosen. As part of the Ojai Arts Center 85th anniversary, there are a series of events happening this year in 2024, including a gala event on November 9th, which I hope you all can attend. Next slide, please. Last month, in February 2024, as part of the 85th anniversary celebration, I produced and hosted a literary event on Sunday, February 18th, in the Art Center's gallery. It was a book celebration event for Slow Lightning Astonished Poetry, Volume 2. And here is the book, which is a book project that I am part of and involved in, and published in October 2023. It was an absolutely lovely rainy afternoon of poetry, music, and cake. Who could ask for more? The event featured poetry from the Slow Lightning Lit curator mentor poet Peggy Dobrier, Janet Fitch, who wrote White Oleander, which was made into a film starring Michelle Pfeiffer, Simon Petty and Celia Chavez of LA-based music duo Petty Chavez, and myself. And it says Sunday because we were supposed to meet right before the event, but it got postponed to this month in March. Next slide, please. So in addition to this literary event last month in February, I'm also working on creating a series of literary events and workshops for summer 2024, as well as other events focused on outreach to students and young families. Part of this outreach is the Next Gen Committee at the Ojai Art Center, which I have created. So next slide, please. The Next Gen Committee mission statement reads, made up of young leaders and mentors in the Ojai arts community, the Next Gen Committee will focus on the outreach, growth, and vitality of the Ojai Art Center as a thriving and supportive incubator for the creative arts and learning. In fall 2023, I hosted an exploratory meeting of the Next Gen Committee with students and mentors. The students shared a series of ideas for events and workshops they would like to see at the Ojai Art Center. They included classes and workshops about how to audition, how to prepare and sell your own art, directing and filmmaking, workshops where older teen actors taught younger students about acting and the theater. Next slide, please. We would, of course, be appreciative of any grants or funding from the Ojai Arts Commission to make this vision and dream a reality. Also from here, I would love to serve as a liaison to other Ojai Art Center branch chairs so they can come and make presentations on their events and awards to all of you. Next slide, please. Friends often ask me, how can I work full-time, take care of teens and their busy schedules, run a household, have creative endeavors, and also do community work? The key, I tell them, is knowing which glass balls to drop that won't shatter. I think she's doing a pretty good job there. Next slide, please. Also, in the slightly altered words of one of my favorite American presidents, John F. Kennedy, ask not what your community can do for you, ask what you can do for your community. Next slide, please. I love that painting of JFK. So now I want to say a sincerest thank you for this opportunity to speak to you this evening. A special thank you to Chair Smitty West for this invitation. Thank you, as we say at my company Hype, listening from the heart, and I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Good. Well, thank you. I do. Because you're like literary, you see where I'm going with this here too?
Absolutely.
I'm going to call, okay, first of all, the Art Center, thank you. Beloved place, been here since the 1930s. In fact, our 5-year plan calls for, our vision is that there is a place in Ojai that's bigger than the Art Center, but what the Art Center's sort of mission is too, is where all the arts can come together to be a hub. And we're hoping that, you know, that you guys can be an example for us or a seed, you know, for us to grow, a physical presence where the art community can get together. We're unfortunately, we don't have a Getty Center or philanthropists, big philanthropists, or a university here that might normally be a center for something like that. So, but you guys remind me constantly, 85 years, and always high quality things that are going on over there. One of the, I like your idea of service personally too. Tell me, Slow Lightning. What's the elevator statement on that title?
Yeah, so Slow Lightning is actually a product of Slow Lightning Lit, which is a writing group that I'm part of, and it was founded by Peggy Dobrier, who's a writing mentor, poet, curator. And so she founded this in COVID, and she actually hosts the writing group 5 days a week, Monday through Friday at 8:30 a.m. California time. I usually only make it about once a week, but she does a somatic meditation and then she gives a writing prompt, and then everyone writes. And so these annual anthologies are made up of the poetry that's actually written in the group.
I see.
She started it during COVID, when people needed connection, when we were all at home. And so this is actually the second anthology that I've been part of. And it's just a wonderful group made up of writers, screenwriters, playwrights, and we all come together at 8:30 in the morning, California time, writers across the U.S. and actually around the world.
What's the metaphor, though, Slow Lightning? Is that the name of one of the poems, or is that?
Well, I think it's because we have this short period of time where we meditate and write together, so lightning hits us all. And it's amazing when you meditate before you make art, whether you're writing or participating in a fine art, oftentimes your muse can come and find you through the meditation.
Yeah. Well, it's a beautiful metaphor. I'm just like my songwriters wanting to do something. But so we have been having a series of educational symposiums for the art community, and I think you're itching to say what I'm itching to say, so I'm going to let you say it, Pamela.
You can say it if you
No,
want.
no, because you're
Okay.
going to talk about it anyways.
So I'm Pamela Grau, and I'm in charge of the education aspect of the Arts Commission. And one of my projects at the moment is creating mentorships in the Valley, connecting art professionals with students. Susan Amon's here at the moment, who is the Ojai studio artist, is creating this big mentorship program with the high school in the visual arts. And I had just spoken to Smitty today saying, I'm putting together, I need more literary mentors. So, I'm adjusting some of the things I was going to bring up tonight, because I think we would like to partner with you, bring in your group for literary and possibly other aspects too. The Ojai studio artists, I want to enliven them more with more funds to create the mentorships that they're doing. But literary and acting and dance and all these things, we're trying to, again, connect professionals with students, because I think more than a particular project, they need those relationships, those examples of people who've gone before them, who have succeeded, to tell them what to expect, how to prepare, and anything that they're in need of. So we'll talk.
Yeah, we would love that. I see that as a working mom. I see that with my sons. Ojai has so many working artists that come and work with the students, and just with open hands and open heart, teach the students what they know. And I absolutely agree. I think mentorship is just key so that we can prepare the students for the 21st century
Talking about the
market.
Art Center at the school?
I'm sorry?
Are you talking about it?
I think she's talking about both.
I mean, Thatcher, at
Yeah.
Nordhoff, or the?
Both. There's so many wonderful organizations in Ojai at the schools and beyond where this mentorship takes place. So yes,
So
I'd love to do
let's
that.
talk. Let's get together and talk about this, because I'd like to be a conduit to connect, help people connect.
Great. I would
And
love
we
that
have
too.
some education budget we're going to
We
go
do.
over later that we want to use. Speak about your next idea for the May seminar,
Okay.
because it's literary.
Well, in a way it is. May 15th at the Ojai Valley Museum from 3 to 4:30. I've invited a man up from Los Angeles who teaches people to do the elevator speech, so to speak. He is a master storyteller, and he helps you find your story and then be able to communicate it very quickly. And so this is geared towards artists particularly, but everybody can use it. I mean, it's something that I'm hoping we'll get a big turnout for, because learning how to tell somebody who you are and what you do in any field is important. And he's really a master. And I have lots of information here on him, but I'm not going to tie up everyone's time. I think that's enough. His name's Michael O'Connor.
But I think it's really interesting the way writing an elevator speech is, so
Well,
many artists, I mean, as a musician, people say, what kind of music do you do? and I shake my head, and then I talk for 3 hours,
Yeah, it's getting it
It's an
down to
important
that
skill.
1 minute, being able to express who you are, and also just the process of knowing who you are. I mean, that's the key element in all the arts, is understanding who you are, what you do, why you do it, how you do it, and be able to spit that out
Absolutely,
between
especially
floors in an elevator.
right, especially if you're looking for support or funding or just to get your art out into the world. So
Yeah.
that's wonderful. Yes,
Very
please.
So
let's
May
collaborate.
15th from 3 to 4:30, and I'll say that probably a couple times tonight.
Okay, great.
I want to comment on your workshops, which I think is great that you're doing those. And as Pam and Smitty mentioned, we also do workshops that we'd love for you to attend. We've done some on legacy planning for artists, on copyright for artists, social media related stuff. I did the copyright session, which I'd be pleased to do for your group if that would be of interest, but it also means that we need to get our communication a little wider so your group knows what we're doing and vice versa. So I'd be pleased to do that. If you're interested, we can follow up. We all have a lot of assignments now.
Yeah.
And also, your offer for your other branch colleagues to come speak with us, we'd like that very much, so that they would know what we do, we will know what you do. That would be great.
Yeah, I would love to be a liaison to that because I would love the organizations to work together and collaborate together. So yes, I'll be happy to do that.
I think that's one of the biggest breakdowns in our town at the moment in terms of the arts. We have a lot of great people doing wonderful projects and all sorts of things, but we're not communicating together. So nobody really knows what's going on,
Yeah.
and hopefully we can help refine that and get that out to everybody.
Yeah, I would like to help with that. I'm a co-founder of the Venice Media District. So when I lived on the west side of Los Angeles, one of Smitty's friends, Robert Feist, was the founder of the Venice Media District. And when I became active in the Venice community, which was about 2006, I noticed that Venice had a lot of organizations, but no one was collaborating and no one was communicating. And so I actually think during my volunteer work there, which was 2006 to 2014, I would say that was one of the biggest imprints that I'm proud that I made, was bringing all these organizations together. And to this day, in 2024, they're all still working together, which makes me very happy. So I would I would love to do that, and especially because my expertise is communication, I'm happy to do that, and I love to connect dots and connect people and to collaborate, because if we're all working together, all boats rise. So
Am I putting you on the spot to name the heads of each of the divisions over at the Art Center?
I will try my best, okay? So Anna Catula is the theater branch chair.
This is just a big thank you to the following.
Yes,
Anna.
and we have a new, very exciting chair of the dance branch. I believe her name is Isha Perez.
Oh, Isha, yes.
And
Thank you,
she
Isha.
is doing a world dance event, I think at Libby Bowl in April. So we're very excited about her joining. Mark Lewis is actually the chair of the literary branch. I'm in a communications role, but I'm collaborating with him on the literary events. Gay Jones is the youth branch chair. Sven, I'm so sorry I'm forgetting his last name, is the chair of the film branch. And Steve Newkirk is the chair of the music branch. And then Richard, I'm forgetting his name too.
Franklin?
I'm forgetting the two Richards, is the art chair branch.
Richard Franklin.
Yes, exactly.
And I see you have a youth division. I didn't know about that. Is
Yes,
that-
so the youth branch is chaired by Gay Jones, and right now it's primarily theater. But my hope is that through the Next Gen Committee, there will be other events through the other branches for students.
Absolutely. I applaud you for recognizing that, and council for, the mayor has created kind of a youth government sort of organization, because our education system needs all the help we can give it, especially with so many great mentors here in the valley. So,
Well, if any of you had a chance to see Les Miserables, the students in Ojai are incredible talent, incredible collaborators, actually, and communicators too. So
Yes. Victor Hugo.
it
Yeah,
was
it's really
amazing
an
that
opera.
these were teenagers that put this on. But again, because there was a music director and a vocal director who came back to teach the students.
Yeah, so thank you to Bill Wagner and Tracy Williams. And I know
And
they had
Darian
some.
Caldwell is the vocal
Ye-
director. So
Yes,
yes.
that's right, yes.
I'm so
Darian.
sorry. I didn't know I would be tested on names because I'm
I
relatively
just-
new, but
I wanna-
I think I got all 8 branches, perhaps.
Well, I want to just send our thanks to the individuals that make the arts happen and despite whatever obstacles we have, and, because that's our future, so. Anything else for Colleen?
I think I'm good.
Oh,
Thank
other
Right.
than
Thank
Thank
you
you,
so
Colleen.
much.
Thank
Thank
you
you for the
so much.
opportunity. I really am very grateful.
All right, thank you. I am going to, let's do minutes from, this is the November minutes, which may be very important going forward. I know you had some
Yes,
comments.
I have some emendations, only a few. Will, if you could take these, I guess we'll have to vote on these. So, page 1, under, we're on the November minutes. Page 1, section 1, under roll call. Before the parenthetical that says Freeman, paren, left at, and then the time, if you could add via Zoom, comma, left at, whatever was the time. Then, ready for me? Also, page 1, under section 5A, the very bottom of the page, Commissioner update, Commissioner Freeman left the meeting. I would strike to attend a separate engagement and instead say, left the meeting via Zoom, comma, left the meeting which she attended via Zoom, comma, noting that she had advance tickets to a spectator event.
That's my recollection too.
That's
Yeah.
what she
Okay.
said
I'm
in
sort of
public.
getting consent as we go along. here.
Moving on to the very bottom of section 5, so now I'm on page 3.
Well, what I can also do, I think, just to clarify, what I can also do is we can make amendments to the minutes. I can write out a new copy of any changes you'd like to see, and we can present those at the next meeting so that you can have a chance to review any amendments that we provide.
I don't think she has a lot. Let's just get them all. That's the way we normally do it. Because then we can vote on
We
it.
can vote on it, we can be done with it.
Sure.
Okay. So then, page 3, the very bottom of section 5, just before we move to 6, discussion and action items. There should be a new paragraph that will say, unless you all have better language, I suggest we say, Chair West noted that the grant applications would be submitted to an ad hoc committee chaired by the grants committee chair. I'll give that to you again. Chair West noted that the grant applications would be submitted to an ad hoc committee chaired by the grants committee chair, period. I have no other
Thank you.
changes to the minutes.
Yeah, because that may become important, so. And then, we all consent to all those?
Yes.
That's your
Yes.
recollection
Yes.
too? Good. That was the one I was going to
Okay,
mention.
so I'll make those amendments.
I
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
So, all in favor? Motion to accept the minutes? Second? All in favor? Thank you.
Motion
With
passes.
those changes, thank you. All right. Let's knock one more thing out. Thank you for your patience, Susan. The public art project agreements. I don't know if now's the time to give an update of the.
Yeah, why don't we jump right into it? So, what I'd like to see, Will, is not the El Roblar agreement, though I'd like to comment on that in a moment. but rather the one that related to that utility box.
Paint box, I
called
think
the
they call it paint box
Yeah, it was the
program.
painting of the utility boxes. That had a copyright section. And I think this maintenance agreement is good, so we'll send it back again to us with those agreements. But while we're at it, I would like to comment on the El Roblar agreement, which is in the materials. When we had our CAPA meeting, I noted to the El Roblar owners that, in fact, this agreement was inaccurate in two respects. The first is that it said that El Roblar is the owner, but in fact, under a Percent for Art program, which apparently this now will not be, the city is the owner of the work. And so I explained that assuming we went forward, they would have to revise that. And he said, okay. So that's one issue. The other issue, which is a bigger one, relates to copyright. So under this agreement, it states that the El Roblar owns the copyright and that the work is a work made for hire, which is inaccurate. Under no circumstance can a public art work be a work made for hire. Under the Copyright Act, a work made for hire is either a work made in the course of employment or one under 9 enumerated categories in the Act. Those include a translation, a model, a contribution to a collective whole, et cetera. They don't apply at all. And so I'm noting this and in a public meeting only so we'll begin to get rid of this concept that there can ever be a situation in which a work of public art is a work made for hire. So
Yeah, maybe I'm going to just put a box around this for the benefit of the public and for our new staff liaison, that part of our 5-year plan is doing an assessment of the city-owned public art in the town, and that assessment will, things are kind of all over the place right now. We want to bring some consistency and some, a form to both the ownership, to the responsibility for the maintenance, for the types of maintenance that are required. And so in that process, we're trying to examine what are the copyright rules that we have in place for the various projects that we're calling public art out there.
yeah, I think that's a good description. What we're trying to do essentially is introduce best practices, which is why I want this copyright matter adjusted and taken care of. And this arises, as I mentioned at our last meeting, in the context of doing a copyright program for Pam's program, in which we talked about copyright and the importance of copyright for artists. And then, in terms of best practices, it would be wholly inappropriate that we, as an arts town, would not be following best practices with regard to copyright. So that's the reason we're sort of straightening out that piece.
We think maybe,
that's
we
all.
may have used, I remember the one that's in the file here, anyways, might have been just a copy from the Oxnard one. Does that sound
It
right?
could
or
be. Anyway,
something like
we're
that? But
just
we can
going to
do
fix
better,
it,
yeah.
and what it means is that we will, I believe, unless we decide to do something different, we will recommend to the city attorney or to the city council, to the city attorney, that we use the following, whatever we agree, language, which is essentially that the artist retains copyright but gives a non-exclusive license to the city for appropriate purposes. Yeah, it's just all a part of straightening things out. You made a point about other aspects, including maintenance, and I'll talk about Cura Arts later in
Okay.
our program,
Okay,
in our meeting.
all right.
So just wanted to confirm on that. So I believe the recommendation was that we are going to bring back these agreements that were present, as well as the
Yeah, we're not going,
paint box
Yeah.
agreement.
right, we're not going to bring back the El Roblar.
Okay.
We don't need that. But the maintenance one you included in these materials, that's good.
Great.
And we're, and if you find any others in the course of doing it, that would be great. And I think what we want to call this is, instead of public art project agreements, we'll want to call it copyright discussion, or discussion related to copyright for public art agreements.
So I'll have a conversation with the city attorney's office and see what we can provide.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, very good. If you have a public comment, fill out a card. So I'm going to take sort of 9A here and bring it up a little bit. Good, Leslie's back. Our commission was somewhat distressed at the vote of the city council to ignore the recommendations of the Arts Commission in terms of the awards of the grants, which were, done in a different way this year. And so I wanted to just prepare prepare council. We want to write a letter from our commission to council, to the mayor, kind of expressing it in as a specific and clear-minded strategic format as we can. So in that regard, I know we have a couple public comments on here. We're distressed with, at that election. We understand that we work at the pleasure of the council. But I think after we're going to try to bring our thoughts together so that we can communicate to the council in a cogent manner. In that regard, we have a couple public comments on this topic. And so I was going to call Susan Stensmuller Amend. Stensmuller Amend. Thank you for being here,
Hi,
Susan.
good evening.
We don't have a clock on you, so no need for a clock today. There was only 2 comments.
Wow.
Please.
I would have planned for
You
more.
planned for 3 minutes, right?
So Susan Stinsmulen Amond, a longtime resident and artist in the Ojai Valley. And
Former Arts
anyway,
Commissioner.
pardon?
Former Arts Commissioner.
Served on the Arts Commission for 14 years, helped write the public art policy, which always needs revision, just the way it's a living document. But I still, my heart is really with the Arts Commission. Once you do that, it's hard to not pay attention to what further happens down the line. And I see great people on the commission and serious, advances, which I so appreciate. However, on February 13th, I don't watch the commission meetings that often, but I knew that the arts grants were up, and so I just, I'm speaking tonight about the council decision regarding the 2024 arts grants that were handled on Tuesday, February 13th, handled poorly in my mind. Having done the arts grant selection for 14 years, as I said, I know what work goes into it. I know what thought. I know how carefully the applicants are reviewed and have a very good idea about how it's decided that some may not qualify. So I wrote a guest essay for the Ojai Valley News on March 8th. It came out 2 Fridays ago, and they were kind enough to print it as a guest essay rather than whatever. I don't usually do it. So rather than fumble with words that I so carefully crafted, I'm just going to read a couple of things that I wrote in that article. So what was to be the approval by the Ojai City Council of the arts grants recipients as presented by the Ojai Arts Commission quickly devolved into mediocre decision-making at the council meeting of February 13th. My husband, Richard Amon, and I, both Ojai artists, and watched with horror as the council chose to ignore the recommendations of their appointed arts professionals on the Arts Commission, who recommended supporting 10 of the 17 applications based on artistic merit, their reach into the community, their specific goals, and organizational soundness. However, the council decided to award the total of the $30,000 budget to all who applied, regardless of merit. By denying the recommendations of the Arts Commission, the council has caused multiple bad results. The loss of the Grants Committee Chair, Nigel Chisholm, the embarrassing Ojai Valley News listing of premier Ojai Arts Organization awardees, who were then financially demoted, distributing the money to all who applied, rendering all who submitted as equals. Jurying and review is done for multiple reasons. Refusal can often be based on an incomplete application, or there may not be a fiscal receiver, or the concept is flawed, or many other reasons. This is an esteemed group of people that are vetted, voted, and asked to serve for the city, and all of you are arts professionals in the various arts, and to ignore your recommendation gives me the chills, really, because that's a lot of time and effort by the applicants and you, and it really sets a very poor example for all of the arts in Ojai that we're not recognizing those who work harder or those whose work is obviously has a merit that is above and beyond. People can apply again. That's the nature of the arts. It's I always say life is a matter of getting edited in and out of things because it's difficult. And I honor the people, anybody who applied. I also want to speak to the ad hoc committee that you all chose of other arts professionals in the Valley who spent their time going through all of the applications, and they were snubbed. And I've talked to several of them, and they're just devastated, really. It's like, and so where do we, where is it going to go from here? Well, that's for you and the council and to decide, but I'm worried, and I hope that you all that are still on the commission will hang in there, but the city needs to trust the professionals that they've asked to serve, and I think it does, nobody on the council is an arts professional. Why they want to even take that on seems like unnecessary, but also like, why? Why? We have professionals to do that work. And so I'm just hoping that there can be a new understanding of all the fine work that's being done and that this won't happen again. And I'm not sure where it's going to go, but I'll be paying attention for sure. So thank you for all you do. And I am super happy that there's $30,000 to give to the arts organizations. Believe me, I was terrible at asking the council for money, but that's a good amount, and it does really help organizations move ahead with new ideas. They can get other grants based on a grant that they get from the city. They say, okay, we've got this, they support us, we can get more through other nonprofits and other donors, et cetera. So yeah, the city's doing a great job of support that way, of supplying that much financial potential.
And I believe it was the Arts Commission that you were part of in the foundation of, in the early years of the Arts Commission that actually created the grants program. This was not
I think it was
city
actually,
program.
I was like 2001. I think it was actually before that. It was one of the oldest of the jobs that the Arts Commission has.
Right, but
Yeah.
it was created by the Arts Commission, is my
Yes.
point. It wasn't, council didn't do that.
Yeah, no, it
Right,
was created
right.
by the Arts Commission,
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, well, thank you for all your years and knowledge, of historic knowledge for coming here. You guys have something to ask for Susan?
Why don't you go first?
So I want to thank you for these remarks and also for your beautifully written op-ed piece, and also for your service on CAPA, which we're going to be speaking about later, the Committee to Approve Public Art for the El Roblar. So we know how active you are, and thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'd like to mention, not only was it disappointing and everything you say, I mean, that was our experience as well, but I think the city council didn't understand the consequences of their decision, because in sub-funding so many really good projects, we're not going to get the results in the community. You know, the film festival, the Ojai studio artists, I mean, I could go on and on about the people who we had, the Taft Gardens, people who had projects of merit that now may not be able to serve the community. And then giving small amounts of money to people who now either have to fundraise in ways that they didn't expect or can't produce the projects that we're funding. And I think maybe half of the recipients that received the money might not be able to produce what they promised.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Your points were so well made, and especially the point you made about insulting not only the Arts Commission, yes, but also the ad hoc committee that had put in so much time and so much effort, and that was a part of our 5-year plan to more widely include the community. To have that slapped down in such a way, I think we were all equally stunned and appalled. And we are going to be having a joint meeting with the city council at some point in the future. And I'd like us, and I know that this will be an important topic because, as you say, it has caused terrible distress and uncertainty within the arts community.
Have you written letters to the ad hoc members?
No.
I'd like to
no.
just add, that we do have an additional 4 public comments, and we will have additional discussion time after, once we do
Bye.
the report. Sorry, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
But Susan, that's a good idea. Smitty, that would be, let's thank, I mean, we have certainly thanked them publicly.
Yes.
But I think writing something would be a very nice thing to do.
Yeah, well, I want to get some resolution too, and so I'm taking notes
I
for a
see.
letter we're going to write from the commission.
What's going to be in the letter?
It won't be
Right.
voted on today or anything, but I want to collect public comments when I do this, so.
Okay.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank
Oh,
you.
you're
Susan.
welcome.
Thank you for your past service on the Arts Commission and creating,
And she continues to be of service with mentorships and scholarships to kids in the art community.
I don't have time.
Look
None
at
of us
me.
do. Thank you.
on our CAPA too. What do you have, some email comments?
Let's take all the in-person cards first, and then I have 3 more online, so I can do those sequentially.
Okay. Susan, you were right in pointing, and thank you for recognizing the commission's expertise in the art world. With our new plan, for the first time since I've been on the Arts Commission, we were working from a plan rather than a 2-paragraph, statement that had been just handed down for years. And it was that plan that we used to secure the additional funding for the grants from the city council. And but unfortunately, we have room for 7 commissioners here, and we're down to 3 now. And our biggest loss here, most recently, was from our next public comment speaker, who was the chair and got us through some tough times, Mr. Nigel Chisholm. And I welcome Nigel, and thank you for coming to make a comment.
Hey, everybody. You're all better people than I am, I'll tell you that, because you're still sitting there. I'd like to associate myself with every remark that Susan just made in totality. If you want to know what's going on in the arts in this town, you ask somebody like Susan, and she'll tell you. She's also had a little bit more time to write than I have. As you know, I've just come back from Ukraine. I'm still tired, but I found time this afternoon to go over the meetings in part and bang out a few words. which are substantially more direct than the ones that you have said. So buckle up, Leslie.
Hey, think it's unusual? Come on.
No, but these ones actually matter. I'm here to share my absolute disgust with the decision made by the City Council on February 13th regarding the grants and the grant process. Let me begin, firstly, by disabusing some and correcting others as to the legality of the process. According to not only our City Attorney, but California state law, the process we used was legal, appropriate, and served its purpose. It was transparent. You don't have to believe me. You can go read if you want to know all about it and know the actual facts instead of listening to your own mumbo-jumbo, which is what actually happened at both of those meetings. Second, there appears to be a complete and total misunderstanding of the Brown Act, and stunningly, that not only happened in the January meeting, but it bled over into the decision in the February meeting. It's stunning to me. Again, if you want to know about the Brown Act, the information is freely available to anybody who can read and, importantly, consume knowledge. Third, if two AC members were on the ad hoc committee, that would actually have been a Brown Act violation, hence there only being one, me. Fourth, the chair, in this case, Commissioner West, has the authority to form an ad hoc committee and committees at his will and appoint its members. He did. They were. In this case, the members were highly respected members of this community, and I dare anybody to say the names of those people and claim that they're not respected and strong individuals. They're definitely not given to bending to the will of anyone. The charge of the ad hoc committee, that particular ad hoc committee bending to my will, is embarrassing, and it's particularly embarrassing coming from someone who did not declare his relationship to a previous Arts Commission member when coordinating talking points at regularly scheduled Arts Commission meetings with her while trying to blow up and politicise this Arts Commission. Fifth, the plan decided upon by Susa Francina, Leslie Rule and Rachel Lang was allegedly first suggested at the council meeting on February 13th by that ex-commissioner who quit, then didn't, then refused to leave, then finally resigned when faced with her imminent removal from the Arts Commission. It may be, however, that the split the money evenly plan was hatched in private with Council Member Francina prior to the February 13th meeting. Sixth, there seems to be a belief that the previous system was fair, open, and equitable. I was there. I served on this commission as a regular commission member, as the vice chair, and as the chair, and again as a regular commission member for 5 years. 5 years plus, I think. I was there. I know what happened. And despite the claims that the institutional knowledge is missing, there's some, and there's some more right here. And as Smitty knows, we accessed that institutional knowledge in pretty much everything we've done, including the 5-year plan, as a matter of fact. Essentially, in the previous system, each Arts Commission member was given applications to review, a few applications to check for completion. Then there was a secret meeting out of the public eye of the Arts Grant Committee who made suggestions to the full Arts Commission. Horse trading took place at the regularly scheduled Arts Commission meeting, or alleged horse trading took place on occasion, and everyone ended up getting the same percentage of the overall ask every year. In the 5 years that I served on the Arts Commission, everyone received funding in the exact same manner. It was an inappropriate way to disperse city funds, in my opinion, especially when a single individual on that commission for so long held so much power. Seventh, the new Arts Commission, that as chair I revamped, and Smitty is doing a fabulous job continuing on that, put in place a new vision, new procedures, and claimed a new identity, one of being a servant to the arts in this community and to the arts community itself. It's clearly working because in the first year, we had nearly twice the number of applicants for grants than ever before. Clearly, the old system could not handle that many applications with the amount of money, available, and even if we had more money available, it still wasn't appropriate anyway, because previously everybody got money. They got the same percentage of money. It's a fraud to think that the other process was transparent and clear and clean. It just wasn't. The old system could not handle this many people, and so a better one was instituted, one that was based on our 5-year plan. That new process included all commissioners receiving and reviewing all applications, forming an ad hoc committee to make recommendations, and then the full Arts Commission doing what the full Arts Commission would do with them, to do whatever they chose to do with them. The ad hoc committee received all applications, and every member of that ad hoc committee thoroughly reviewed every application. They then met, and with agreed criteria, which I'm not going to go over because we all know it, and there's probably another dozen of them over in the ones that you mentioned at the meeting as well, with agreed criteria, who would receive, we would go over it and then go through the agreed criteria, and we would decide who got what. And as it turns out, at one of the meetings, one of the public speakers was complaining in a joking manner that the library, and Councilmember Francina referenced as well, didn't get any money for the bench with the person. Now, to go back to what I was saying about earlier about me apparently having the will to force Brett Bradigan, Sammy Zaringer, and Julie Grist to my will, I'm the one that actually wanted that, and I got voted down. So clearly, this was an ad hoc committee that was made up of strong individuals, and I was listening to them. The criteria was the same for every applicant. Our meeting lasted over 3 hours, and every applicant was judged in the same manner. Those decisions were then relayed to the entire Arts Commission, who had the opportunity to ask any questions and make any adjustments to the recommendations. In the same manner, that meeting was properly noticed, and any member of the public or City Council were able to attend and comment. That meeting took place on December 21st. It should be noted that there were 4 members on the Arts Commission from after the November meeting, as one member resigned, but that member didn't even stay for the presentation of the grant requestees in the November meeting, as she was on holiday in Las Vegas for the F1 Grand Prix, and apparently that was more important than viewing the presentations that she was ostensibly responsible for as what she describes as the chair of the Arts Commission, but she never did anything at all with regard to the arts grants at all. The day before the January 23rd meeting, fully 1 month after Council Member Francina, who was apparently too busy for an entire month to contact the Arts Commission prior, decided to engage in an email fact-finding enterprise with the Arts Commission and city staff. On those emails were Smitty West, Christine Steiner and myself, Carl Alameda, the city attorney, and Susan Francina. I believe that Rachel Lang was part of those emails as well, but I haven't reviewed them, so I could be wrong. She decided to engage in an email fact-finding enterprise with the Arts Commission and city staff. She was labouring under enormous misapprehensions, and despite receiving very clear information to the contrary, she simply chose to ignore the facts and cease all communication with the Arts Commission. This is strange behaviour from someone who purports to do due diligence and oversight of spending city money, and who claims to have respect for the commission members on all commissions. And clearly over the past few months, that has been sadly obvious that that is not the case. At the January 23rd meeting, Susan continued with the spouting of her opinion and not fact, despite being corrected multiple times on every point she made by the chair, the vice chair of the AC, the acting city manager, the city attorney. Nonetheless, the council was deadlocked 2-2 to either pass the grants or take a 2-week hiatus to gain greater insight, according to council member rule. At that time, the major concern, according to council member Francina and council member rule, were 2 applications that were apparently got lost in the mix, got lost in the shuffle, were actually late. It's almost like Chamberlain with council member Francina waving up a piece of paper with it saying that it was received, when in actual fact it wasn't. It was embarrassing. The major concern, 2 applications were not considered because they were actually late, and they were not considered for the grants. The chair made it very clear after that meeting, and they decided on the hiatus, as I did, to Commissioner Rule, right there in that alleyway, in that hallway there, where Christine Steiner and Smitty West were standing there. that we were actively seeking communication regarding any and all questions council had. In fact, I begged Councilmember Rule to contact me and ask me any questions she had. You didn't. It's a strange behaviour from somebody who wants to know the answers to what happened, and I'm the one at the centre of it. To this date, as the person at the epicentre of the issue, I've received zero communication. That is a disgrace. In fact, the chair has had zero communication from Councilmember Francina in only a short meeting with Councilmember Rule prior to the February 13 meeting. I believe that you have met or communicated with Councilmember Rule post-meeting as well. At that February 13th meeting, the basis of the objections was still process, transparency, and being good stewards of city funds. During that meeting, the new city manager, the previous acting city manager, the city attorney continued to correct Councilmember Francina, who continued to ignore them. Makes you wonder what was going on behind the scenes, doesn't it? Councilmember Francina says she spoke to 3 past chairs of the Arts Commission. I don't know who they were, but I wasn't one of them. I guess I'm on the do not call list. Again, surprising for somebody who actually wants to get information. Susan Francina claims that 3 members of the public awarded grants. That would be the 3 members of the ad hoc committee. That is willful ignorance of the process. She claimed that the ad hoc committee members were my friends. Now, we all live in a small town. We all know pretty much everybody in town. And certainly me, I'm pretty visible in this town, so I know most everybody, at least by sight. As it turns out, I did not select the members of the ad hoc committee. And yes, while one is a friend, another is an acquaintance, and the third I did not know on a personal level. I just knew on the basis that she was an artist in this community, a respected artist in this community. She stated that there was no public input, but there was never, ever public input into the decisions of the grants process. In fact, comments were not permitted during the discussion, as such as it was, of the grants process. She's never asked why some people this year received grants and others didn't. She claims that all applicants were worthy. They were not. She wouldn't know because she didn't ask. She claims, Councilmember Francina, that she doesn't know anything about the members of the ad hoc committee, and yet she knows all of them. Apparently her intuition told her something was amiss. Well, we do live in Ojai, I suppose. Councillor Francina claims that the ad hoc committee gave out grants. They did not. The full Arts Commission voted unanimously to do so. And in fact, in order to get that money out as efficiently and effectively as possible, I zoomed in from Ireland at 6 p.m. at night so that we could have that meeting. I was busy. We're all busy. But apparently, some people get a bit too busy to take care of business. The full commission voted unanimously to accept the grants. They agreed with the recommendations in full. Councilmember Francina seems to be labouring under the impression that struggling artists should be supported, but that is not the function of the Arts Commission. It never was. It may become that, but up to this point, it isn't. And certainly not with regard to the grants process itself. Councilmember Francina claims, with no proof or knowledge, that in the past there was an emphasis on seed money to lift up artists. That is patently untrue. There was an emphasis on giving everyone something, and that something usually turned out to be the same percentage of the initial ask. Now there's an emphasis on bolstering established projects, according to Councilmember Francina. There isn't. There's an emphasis on art and its impact in its myriad forms and how it contributes to this community and the society in which we live. In short, Council members Francina, Rule and Lang voted to insult the Arts Commission, denigrate its members and question their integrity, dismiss and demean the members of the ad hoc committee. The ringleader of this embarrassing mess, Councilmember Francina and Councilmember Rule, decided in their eternal wisdom to be good stewards of city funds, claiming a lack of transparency and continued to ignorantly claim a potential Brown Act violation, to completely ignore the excellent and appropriate vetting of every grant applicant by every member of the Arts Commission and every member of the ad hoc committee, and instead take good care of city money by giving it to applicants who were denied for good reason. But as they never bothered to ask the people involved, they wouldn't know, would they? In one fell swoop, they turned the legitimate arts grant process into a welfare program. Expect an application from me next year. And probably everybody else who knows that the process is now a welfare program. Strangely, at the start of the discussion of the grants, Councilmember Rule took on the suggestion of splitting the grants evenly, thereby injuring the vetted applicants. Councilmember Francina supported, of course. It's almost as if this was agreed prior to the meeting. Just happened a little bit too smoothly. And I say that as somebody who poo-poos anybody who believes in conspiracy theories. It was just a little bit too easy, wasn't it? Now, none of this would have mattered had Councilmember Whitman not, in my view unnecessarily, recused himself from the discussion. And more importantly, Councilmember Lang had not decided that in order to break a 2-2 vote and come up with a different course of action, one that would have actually included the Arts Commission members in a respectful manner, that should roll over and give money to applicants whose applications had not been vetted by any council member in any meaningful manner. It should be noted in closing that all city staff had advised council at every point to pass the grants as are and change the process moving forward if they so chose. However, as Council Member Rule noted, council have ignored staff before, so why change now? I'm done. If you've got any questions, observations, comments, I'm happy to engage.
Well, Nigel, I just want to thank you for your service to this commission, but this community. You've always created a safe place for art in this community, and you're always willing to speak your mind as well. We're gonna, well, just very powerful. This feels like this is going to be a benchmark, for the arts in Ojai or the Arts Commission in Ojai, where it's either going to, we're the only commission that has a plan, actually has a plan, and we were conducting our plan in this. The council doesn't have a plan either.
Well, that's pretty obvious.
Yeah, well, I feel, and I know you feel, it isn't for ourselves or our integrity, it's for the integrity of the plan and the things that we all serve and the reason that we do this. And I'm hoping that, we can do the plan. There's too many, art is such an important part of our valley and can bring people together and doesn't need to divide people. And I had to, we lost you, and I had to fight to keep all three of us, in the last month. But I told them all that we have something bigger than ourselves here that we're working toward. And I thank you for your comments. And we're going to have, I don't know if you have to leave, but we're going to have some discussion. I want to hear the other public comments as well. And then we're going to, I took notes, we're going to see if any of the commissioners has a comment on those topics at that time. But at this point, I think I might just ask you to take a seat, and you guys, the public is welcome to stay here too. But let's hear what the other comments are, Will, that you have there.
Thank you all for your service.
May I comment on?
Yes, you may.
On Nigel's comment? So Nigel, thank you for that. And I assume you know how much you are missed on this commission. And we certainly I certainly respect your decision to resign given the shocking insult, as we heard from Susan and you've heard from us as well. It's an absolute disrespect of this commission and of the work, especially of your work in handling the grants program, stepping in after the former grants chair who had never done any work on the grants committee. You had to do all of that work, as well as work with the ad hoc committee, and then bring those recommendations to us. It was a lot of work. Thank you for it. And to have it treated in such a dismissive way, as Smitty noted, it's amazing that we have stayed, but we can certainly understand that would have driven you off this commission. And not just for the commission, but as Smitty notes, for arts in Ojai in general. I was also on the commission during the, quote, old way, as it was called by the city council, by Councilwoman Francina, that old way of giving a little bit to all, which is what happened. And I absolutely agree with you that system was, as you said, an inappropriate way to disperse city funds. It was, to me, in fact, a joke that everybody would get a little something. Well, it's the case that not everybody gets the job they apply for. Not everyone gets into the college of their first choice. Not everyone gets a Guggenheim grant. There's discernment, there's individual determinations that go into these applications. As Susan noted, the applicants worked very hard on these grants, and the commission, you especially with your committee, worked very hard to make the determinations that were made. So the other point I want to make, relating to your observation that the city council simply substituted its judgment for the very careful judgment that had been made. I know it's going to be in this letter that Smitty's going to write, but what was most appalling to me was not only the discussion during the two city council meetings, but that Council Member Lang and Council Member Rule voted on these applications without even bothering to read the applications. It is the case that Councilwoman Francina said she read them and determined that each was equally worthy, which of course we determined was not the case. And we think we were appointed to make those determinations, probably with more effort and attention. But the fact that Councilwoman Lang and Councilmember Rule didn't even read those applications is, to me, simply shocking. And that's all I have to say, other than that we miss you very much, and thank you.
Stay. Yes, let's go and talk to Nigel.
While we're griping. Well, one of the things that I noticed at that meeting was this call for transparency. And of course, there could have been some things on our side that could have been done differently, but one thing that was not transparent, and it really irritates me, is the person who sort of instigated this action of withholding the grants, the two people who stood up, one an ex-art commissioner who left disgruntled, and her
She was removed, essentially.
and her partner, who tends to give public comment as if it's his own idea, and obviously it's not, stirred this all up, and there was a lot of ill will in that. And I feel like that's what was not transparent. Like, they did not come up and say, we're disgruntled and we want to change the opinion in town about the Arts Commission. We work very hard, and we really, I almost stepped down after that, because it was like, what's the point? Why am I here? I could be doing other things. I could be making art. We work really hard, and we bring our expertise, and to feel undermined by somebody who was just out to cause trouble really upset me.
I'll just track back a little. She wasn't removed. She resigned under threat of being imminently removed. So that's a misstatement on my part, and I apologize for
Sorry,
that.
I just wanted to chime in as well, just as we mentioned with Susan beforehand. We can have time for an open discussion as well, but this was public
Okay.
comment, so I'd like to limit back and forth as much as possible.
Okay.
Thank you for
I'll
the
stop.
reminder.
And I'll end
But,
with this.
Nigel, I just wanted, what you pointed out is the you know, I can appreciate our council is very busy with a lot of topics. That's why they have commissions, so that we can go off and be their experts for them.
Sometimes.
But in this case, you received, I wasn't at the, no one here was at the ad hoc committee. I do want to thank them individually, you know. One was Brett Bradigan. Now, I went to the president of the Rotary. I knew that the Rotary gives the largest grants. They have a multi-million-dollar educational foundation. I asked the president of Rotary if they could recommend someone from their grants committee that is very experienced with merit-based grants and giving grants in conjunction with a plan for the future from their education endowment. And the president recommended Brett Bradigan to me because he's been on that committee for years at the Rotary Club. And then we chose Sammy Zaringer, a respected writer and civic person in the Valley who did serve, who was on the Arts Commission for a full term, so she knows the old system as well. And Julie Grist, a new member of the Arts community who has extensive experience with community leadership down in Los Angeles. And she served on our mural committee, or mural approval, mural jury as well. And then yourself, you know, so those were the ad hoc committee, and it wasn't secret. And but I just noticed that Susan never, she didn't choose to ask anyone, especially you who was in the room, you know. Nobody here was contacted by any member of council before. I saw Leslie before, and I think I politely predicted what might happen. But you were in the room, and you never heard from Susan, is that correct?
Susan stopped all communication with us on the Monday prior to the January meeting, on the Tuesday, when she was receiving information that she didn't like because it didn't fit with her narrative from her friends that she had been told, apparently. And this is just to take upon Christine's point. I didn't just quit because of this. I quit because of the disrespect that the council has shown to this commission over the past year, particularly Council Member Francina, who stood in the way of taking care of the personnel on this commission and inhibited this commission, inhibited this commission from implementing its 5-year plan and carrying on its duties as required by the council. I'll finish with that.
I would like to just note, this is public comment time. We would like to have time for a discussion to go through the different items available.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you. So if we could move on.
Thank you, Nigel.
Thank you.
Thank you. What else you got for us, Will?
Would you like to proceed with the rest of the staff reports?
Did you say you had more public comments?
We do not.
Oh, I
anymore.
thought you said you had
We did
several.
previously. We no longer have public comments.
No more
left.
public comments?
Yes.
All right.
Would you like me to present on the staff report?
On this topic?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay, great. So this is our first staff report item for item 9A for the 2024 Arts Grants awarded. As we've discussed a little bit today, the Arts Commission received update from city staff our recommendation today is that the Arts Commission receive update from city staff on the status of the awarding of the 2024 arts grants, as was requested by the commission. The city of Ojai awarded funding to 17 of the local arts applicants as part of the 2024 arts grant program. The decision to award all 17 eligible applicants was made at the February 13th City Council meeting. The city received a record number of a total of 19 applications, 2 of which were ineligible. Each of the successful applicants were awarded $1,775 to support initiatives taking place in the Ojai arts community stretching beyond the city boundaries. And also there is a full list of arts grant recipients available on the website for anyone that would like to see, and that also includes all past recipients.
Will, did you say that number was 1,775 that each received?
Each received $1,775, yes.
Thank you. So My plan is to draft a letter, just to, one, kind of make sure that the facts are set as to what happened, that the law is clear as we understand it, and that we've done our duty as the Arts Commission. Also, moving forward, we want to make sure that we have established the type of relationship, a healthy relationship with council. We serve council. They have full control of all the money, but we want to make it clear that if they can't respect that the commission they put in place to do this, and this is actually part of our plan that they approved and budgeted for too, then what is the really point? It's going to make people quit, or just let the council do that themselves or something if that's not good, because we have important educational things to do, communication things to do in the Valley, and connection of our artists as well. So I'm going to address the ad hoc committee itself and its legality. I'm going to address the Brown Act, because it seems very clear to me, and I actually have a transcript from the February 13th meeting so it's very clear if we want to talk about anything that was said there, either by council people or the attorney, as opposed to the Brown Act. So thank you, Nigel, for that. The absurdity of splitting the money evenly, there were some actual real consequences of people receiving money that shouldn't have. And it is apparent from the minutes of the meeting that the council was in the dark about it. They hadn't read the applications. They hadn't talked to us about how we did it. And so they should have, if it was important, I think they should have just tabled it, like that was one of the suggestions as well. In fact, Leslie, I remember you saying you're split. You could go either way on it. You just didn't like the Brown Act thing. I want to know from.
We addressed that during council.
Yeah, good. I'm going to.
Discussion about that, and I have talked to our attorney.
Okay, we're going to have we're going to put this in a letter, and I expect a response that's either is supportive or puts us in our place, because we work for you guys. I did want to mention, I don't know, I had a note down here, Andrew
Chair West,
Wetland.
I just wanted to remind, let's keep the conversation direct to the commission.
Okay, thank you. I also wanted to, no one has mentioned that Andrew Whitman, when he recused himself. You guys have any comment on that?
Well, he has a brother in the Ojai studio artist, and his family is connected to the Taft Gardens, so that was why he felt he couldn't be
Right, but
involved
he
in
was,
that.
but he was told it wasn't a conflict.
He was told by the city attorney that it wasn't a conflict. That's correct.
So I'm going to mention that as well, too. And I'm curious as to, because I watched the meeting again, as to what Susan Francina was reading from, because everything she read seemed to be something she hadn't read the pertinent things about the arts grants, but she had read a letter of complaint, it seemed to me, too. So I'm going to be curious what that was.
Well, one thing we know is that a disgruntled former arts commissioner telephoned unsuccessful applicants seeking to get them to sign on to this plan to disperse money evenly, which in fact turned out to be the case.
Okay.
There is one point, and perhaps I can save it till we address later, but it relates to what could have, and I think should have been, the appropriate response if there had been some concern about Brown Act situations, even though we know from the city attorney that that was not the case. But a simple legislative and appropriate decision would have been to remand it to the Arts Commission to have a more thorough discussion if there had been concern that it hadn't been so fully addressed. That's something that could have come from the council. It's something that could have come from the city manager. It's something that could have come from the city attorney. And that would then likely have not resulted in this even-handed amount to undeserving awardees, and it probably would not have caused the distress within the community that it has. So I really don't understand why that hadn't been done.
Else?
No,
Okay,
pass.
good. Yeah, and I want to thank, and I want to apologize, well, I ask your indulgence, both of our liaisons, that this was very sensitive for us. And I didn't want to go talking behind the scenes and all too. I wanted to do this in public. It was hard to keep these guys on board, and I couldn't keep Nigel on board. So I think it's important to the function of government in our city, and arts is something we ought to be able to get together on. And I think we can all do better. We can do better, being more public. I take the comments I've heard about. I mean, it wasn't a violation of Brown Act. I have to go by what our attorney says, but we can be more transparent. I think we can be more transparent, and that'll be a topic that we'll talk. I think May 21, we're going to have a joint meeting with. I don't know if that's solid.
We
yet.
do not have a scheduled joint meeting yet, but we are in the plans of making a joint meeting between the City Council and the Arts Commission.
Good. So I thank the public and staff and council for your indulgence of us just airing this in a form that I thought was the most appropriate way to do it. And Nigel, we're sorry to see you go, but I know that you'll be part of you may be able to do more, from the position you're in right now. And we'll try to carry the torch forward. I'm going to move along if there's nothing else, but I'm going to draft a letter and ask our council liaison to take that to council. All right, let's move on to some happy things. Tell us about arts education, Commissioner Grau.
Well, sorry, so we were on 9A. Would you like to finish the remainder of item 9?
It's okay, we'll come back and we usually do that at the
everyone-
end, okay? Let's do it. I hop back up to, I just moved 9A for the respect of the speakers.
Okay, is there consensus from everyone to move back to item 6?
You guys good to
Item
that?
7, sorry. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So, art education, or,
We're back to item 7, I guess.
Okay.
I was looking.
okay. So Commissioner update?
7B, 7A,
Okay.
7B.
Do I get?
You do.
I do 7A later.
Okay,
Have to
okay,
be
so very
back.
quickly, because a lot went down tonight. So I'm working on two things at the moment. One is continuing the enrichment seminars at the museum. It was decided with the museum that we couldn't do them every month like I wanted to, but we're doing them like maybe every other month or every 2 months. As I mentioned before, Michael O'Connor, a lecturer from Los Angeles, is coming up May 15th. The lecture will be on developing your elevator talk from 3 to 4:30. And the one following him, a date has not been set, but it's going to be on social media, how to get the most out of social media for promoting art and artists and making sales and all sorts of wonderful things. So that's one thing. The next thing I'm working on is the 2024 Art Mentorship Program. And I'm shifting, and I'm going to do this publicly, and I hope you'll bear with me, because I have a whole mentorship program that I put together that has 10 professional artists in town who are eager to take a young budding talent that would be decided from Nordhoff High School. And the reason I'm focusing on the high school is that the arts programs have been so cut over there. And I think the private schools in town have more access to enrichment. However, tonight, here, I'm rethinking this project because listening to, it's Colleen? Colleen, talk about what's going on at the Art Center and seeing Susan Amen, who I know is working on a mentorship with Nordoff. There's 15 visual artists right now that are just starting. They applied for the grant. They got undercut by the grant significantly. And I would like to propose that we fund the Art Center and help them get their mentorship program and the literary acting and I can coordinate with some of the professionals in town that have volunteered to be mentors. Maybe help fund the Ojai studio artists a little bit and the Art Center a little bit to help them with their mentorship programs, since they seem to be doing a similar type of.
This is a beautiful example of how we can be creative and flexible, but still within the plan, because everything you just mentioned as your ideas, fit our strategic plan perfectly. We want to help the youth. We want to help in all the arts. We want to involve members of the community. We want to create a conduit and a hub for things to come together, and nothing could be better for both
Help supporting the Art Center.
artist
Yeah.
and support
And empowering you guys to do what, when I first came on, I was like, projects, let's get projects. And then I was told, no, you're supposed to help facilitate the organizations in town to help them get their projects done. And since you did talk about mentorships, and I know I'm involved with the Ojai Studio Arts, so I see what's going on there. So I would like to, with the commission's permission, to explore partnering with some of the organizations that are currently working on that and figuring out how we can financially support them with the little money that we have.
Yeah, well, it's absolutely within our plan, which is already
Okay.
approved. We'll go over the budget later, and we'll find out we do have education
Okay.
budget that can be used for anything in education, and it's one of the strategic directions that we do more to understand our constituents, because without, how can we help them if they don't know us or trust us,
Right.
And I can't think of a better better use of our budgeted dollars from the taxpayers than to partner with groups
Okay.
similar to those represented tonight. So just put it in, bring it up in the next meeting. So let's put,
Okay.
that'll be an agenda item for the, do you want to do a public art and everything else at the same time?
Of course,
With the-
thank you. So I have just a few updates on public art. I have an update on Cura Art. By way of background, in keeping with best practices in the field, as you know, we engaged Cura Arts to provide a maintenance and conservation assessment of all of the city's public art. They are a professional arts management entity, and they have almost completed the survey. And certainly by the next meeting, by our April meeting, they'll be able to report out what they have determined. Overall, just as sort of a preliminary, Liza Shapiro, who heads Cura Art, said that most of the works are in good shape, which is great news. That we know that there are some problems that we had expected, so we had anticipated those. What that means, once we get the report, is we'll analyze it, and then we'll have to make certain decisions about what happens with those problem entities, whether We'll wait until we get the report, but we do know there are a few issues. So that's ongoing. Kappa.
This is the outdoor public art.
This is, right, this is
Mostly
the public.
statuary,
Yes, mostly.
It's not this stuff.
Sculpture, we call it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sculpture,
sculpture.
statuary, expressionist statuary.
And so, yes, it is the outdoor public art, some of which is city-owned, some of which is city-owned on private property pursuant to the Percent for Art program. So that's it for Cura Art. Expect that at the next meeting.
For
And
the benefit of council liaison and new city liaison, this was about $6,500 that was budgeted And the city manager said, well, we'll do it through the Arts Commission, so it was kind of a pass-through thing to us, but it's important for the city to,
It's very
Very important
important.
for
And again, in keeping with
insurance,
best practices, one of the problems is that this kind of professional assessment simply hadn't been done
Never
at
been.
all. And in the ordinance, there is an obligation on the city to conduct regular maintenance and conservation. So we are very far behind. The fact that our professionals are telling us that most works are in good shape is a very good sign. But again, it's been nothing short of negligence for us not to have done that. And we do know that there are a few problems we're going to have to grapple with that could have and should have been handled, frankly, years ago. So that's enough on that. That'll be coming back to us. Quickly on CAPA, I know that Will is going to present, and then, so I think I'll simply wait on my comments until Will's comments, and then I'll comment. So I have nothing else.
Okay.
Thank you.
are you going to talk about, well, on Commission Health and Technology, I've been told by staff that we're no longer responsible for doing a website ourselves. We have to submit anything we want to do. Now, I know there was only 3 of us here, but part of our 6 different divisions, each one had a little budget for and a direction under the plan for using technology to better do our jobs in education and anything applying to public art, like inventories and that sort of thing. So it sounds like for now, though, we have to put requests through staff for any of that. I'm trying just to get our pictures and names on the website to start anyways. But we want to become a good example. I met with the city manager and I said, we're going to be an example for you of using technology to connect with all the constituencies in town.
Actually, I have a question for you, just very quickly. One of the issues that has come up with promoting the seminars or art education is I don't know, I feed it to Smitty, who then feeds it to you, and then it's put out into the world. We were hoping for a website that we could use
Yeah,
to promote
that's right.
things.
I'm
Okay.
trying, but what I'm hearing is last year, the plan was that I would actually, or someone
Right,
else,
right.
that we could hire, we have a little budget for it too, would go in there and start building this thing. But maybe you can give us an update on that one.
I can respond to that
Okay.
too. So I think what our best process would be moving forward would be, I'm happy to take any suggestions, copy and paste any links from the website, provide those to me as to what you'd like to edit, how you'd like to edit. If you have the design budget as well to produce documents that what you'd like to see on the website, I can have that uploaded and included. So I just need a draft as to what you would like to put forward, and then we can accept that and have that done.
Yeah. We will.
Connectivity that's missing.
Right,
Like,
right,
the
right, right, right.
One of the issues I think in town, in our city, is that we're not using our technology to connect all of us, So we have all these art organizations. Tonight with Colleen, I didn't know about that. I should know about that. If something's going on in town, we should know, and we should be able to communicate back into the community, events, art. There's so many things going on, and there's no central hub. I would like to see the Arts Commission be a central hub for information about the arts in Ojai.
Understood. That's something we can definitely work together on.
This is in our
The website.
plan, and it's different than just handing you things like a scrapbook and saying, put them up there. A web designer, a cloud is a organized kind of top-down thing, not feeding things in. So it's going to be frustrating if we don't know the functionality of what we can even ask for. I've already submitted at least our names and our pictures and our five-year plan outline that we gave to the council, which is in what format?
PDF form, or InDesign. I designed it in InDesign, but it's a
InDesign.
PDF.
I think I sent that to you. I
Sorry.
sort of see that as one of our pages as being, the plan. Everyone asks you, the plan, what plan, where's the plan,
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we did have the names also put into that PowerPoint. I just asked for a revision as to the current complexion of the commission. So if you return that, I can definitely have that put on the website. Thank you.
I can do that.
I'm sorry, return what?
So we're going to revise it, taking Nigel off, putting,
The current complexion of the commission.
yeah.
Complexion, yeah. Well, we got better things to do than just show our faces, so I hope we can move this along. But I suspect we're gonna reach the end of the year, and we're gonna have this money in our budget, and it won't be spent, and the website will still be of no service to anybody. So I'm gonna fight that that's not the case, and I know that's fallen in my division for now. When we get new council people, we'll try to find somebody, we'll either budget for help, and I'll just have to work with staff to figure out how to do that, because right now it feels like it's an obstacle, not helping, yeah. Okay, let's, I guess we have future agenda items. Oh, I did want to report, or I don't know if you had the report, that we do have confidence. We've been interviewing candidates for commissioners, and we do have confidence that maybe by our next meeting, we'll have 5 commissioners. So we'll kick that over to council and see what they give us, all right? But I've put in our recommendations. Future agenda items. I want to carry forward. Mhm.
Oh, go ahead.
Go
Pardon
ahead.
me. Pardon me.
I do want to carry forward the Cura. I'm hoping we're getting close to having a report from them.
Yes, and I think what we want to call that is the Maintenance and Conservation Survey.
Good, thank you for a name for that. Maintenance and conservation.
Survey. The other item I have, which I mentioned earlier, is copyright. We'll bring
yeah.
that back.
The contracts, copyright. This
Yeah.
would be for future contracts that we have, like for
Correct.
instance with El Roblar and
anything
our
else.
percent for arts thing is something, we still haven't gotten that to a discussion point.
Let's take care of copyright first, we'll get there. I
Okay.
think it makes more sense to wait until we've got a full complement, because that's sort of a meaty topic,
Okay.
which we'll want
But
to.
for staff liaison, I want you to be aware that we had a presentation about 2 years ago about how we come up with the percent for arts. You know, we know what the number is and that sort of thing, but the way it's actually calculated, it was done very conservatively, and you know, I remember, and
I think it would make sense not even to characterize it, to wait until
Okay.
there's a discussion.
okay, but it's coming. Thank you, Will.
I'd like to report in next time about partnering with some of the art organizations for mentorships.
We'll do some work on that. You got the green light to go ahead with that
Thank you.
because of earlier approvals. All right, Will, we'll let you do your B through D now.
Sorry, just wanted to confirm, so the other conversation we had with Pamela was regarding, sorry, I should say Commissioner Grau, was related to, initially, you're just going to do some research and some look into potential partnerships, because I believe I'd written previously that we were looking to take that to a future agenda item to have a full discussion for the funds.
Yes, well, I have some funds to use, right?
Yeah, we're
And-
gonna see those here.
Yeah,
Okay,
so,
we can add that in. Okay, great.
the only concern I have is about dragging it on too long, so it runs into next year. I would like to have some decisive decision by our next meeting.
Yeah.
That's,
Remember last year, we left a lot of the citizens' budget on the table because there was so much turnover at staff at the time, we couldn't get
Okay.
approval on some late projects. I remember that, yeah. Please, go.
Great. Okay, so we'll move on to item 9B, which is our second staff report. So let me bring up our current year-to-date itemized budget.
Do we have it on paper, or is it just up there?
I have it in your package as well,
Okay.
yes.
and you'll all be able to see it on the screen. So, attached to your reports is the City of Ojai Arts Commission current year budget line items. The attachment includes all of the past 3 years, last fiscal years, as well as a year-to-date balance for existing budget items. As you can see, the only items we have noted with the current spend is the arts grant item, which, as you know, as we discussed previously, has been allocated. as well as $200 directed towards mentorships.
That's incorrect, actually. It was
Yeah.
arts education for 200,
We spent
and
a
no money
few
has been
grand.
spent on mentorships.
Great, so I can speak with our finance department and ensure that that's allocated correctly.
Copier rental isn't even on. We have new budget categories now. But I guess you're trying to go back
Just-
historically too.
Yeah, just wanted to include any item that had received any budget in the previous 3 years.
And we call it different things.
And let's fix that while we're
Yeah,
at
because
that.
the art acquisition, that's what's going to care of, right?
No, it shouldn't be.
No, these are old categories that he tried to
Yeah.
blend with the new ones.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
the new categories are just the 6 divisions. There's communications, there's technology, there's public arts, there's grants, there's commission health, and which one did I miss?
Did you say technology?
I did.
So
Public arts
we
grants,
can certainly
commission
revisit
health.
this if you'd like. These are the current year-to-date items in our city budget allocated towards Arts Commission. If we've pre-designated those line items into separate categories, we can break that down and come back with this if you'd like.
Well, we had specific, well, we can do better than this.
Yeah.
And you and I will work on this.
Yeah.
Okay,
on the
we can,
side.
we can definitely have a conversation and
Yeah.
come back with this for the next meeting if you'd like.
So,
Okay.
and just for fuller input, there isn't a municipal collection, it's called the city collection. There isn't a city gallery. There isn't such a
Yeah.
thing as city art dash museum, so no wonder it's consistently had 0. So it would make sense to sort of fix that, even if what you have to do with respect to the earlier years is call it that. I would then do a new one that makes it correct. Otherwise, it's meaningless.
Yeah.
Again, yeah, we're in budget preparation season. These are the current line items that have already been adopted and approved for this year. We can have a
No, they're
look and
not.
discuss what,
Okay.
Or not. We'll,
okay,
you
well,
two
we
will
can
work on
certainly have a conversation after and work on this. Thank you.
it. Okay.
what else you got for us?
All right, we can move forward. So we have item 9C, which, as we discussed previously, is related to the public arts application subject to review of CAPA at the El Roblar Hotel. So the Arts Commission, our recommendation, staff recommendation, is that the Arts Commission receive update from staff on the public art application for the El Roblar Hotel and on the status of future CAPA meetings. So just to provide a little bit of background context, the City of Ojai's Committee to Approve Public Art, as we discussed earlier, commonly known as CAPA, met in February 2024 to conduct an initial review of the public art application submitted by the private developers at the El Roblar Hotel. The initial project included a plan to develop and install a mural in the lobby of the hotel. The result of the CAPA meeting was a request from the committee to schedule a future meeting on the matter during an evening time slot to better assess the visibility of the mural from the public right-of-way. However, following the meeting, staff was informed by the project applicants that they were withdrawing their initial public art application related to the mural and intend to resubmit a revised application in the future. So we will monitor that situation. When they communicate with us, we will provide an updated application to all of you and to the Committee to Approve Public Art and discuss when we can convene another meeting, when it's appropriate.
I'd like to publicly thank the CAPA members for their, nobody here,
Service.
for their
So-
service.
So specifically, those and I would like to as well,
Mm-hmm.
and those members were Barbara Hirsch, Susan Amend,
Stems Mueller.
Chair West, Planning Commissioner Jamie Bennett, and me. And I would like to just elaborate a bit on Will's very good report. So under the ordinance, all works that use percent for public art have to be approved. And there's specific criteria within the ordinance, but there is, in addition, or initially, there's a predicate requirement before you get to aesthetics, suitability, those sorts of subjective criteria. There's in fact two criteria. One is that this work be available to the public at least 8 hours a day. El Roblar met that criterion, saying that the lobby would be open 24 hours a day and any member of the public could come in. The second criterion is that it be visible from the nearest public right-of-way, which in that case was Ojai Avenue out on the street. And so the committee took a walk out to see whether we could see this proposed work in the lobby from the street. And there was sort of, to put it mildly, there was a split assessment of whether in fact it was visible, with the owners saying, yes, it was visible, but more to the point, it's very visible at night when it's lighted and any member of the public would be able to see it from the sidewalk. And so for that reason, to give the owners the benefit of the doubt, we, as Will explained, essentially recessed the meeting, although Will said we had to conclude the meeting and then initiate a new meeting, which we were prepared to do specifically to give the owners the benefit of the doubt as to whether the work would be visible from the nearest public right-of-way. So that's sort of a fuller assessment, and then it was withdrawn. So the point I want to make with respect to the plan to bring up a new work is that they are obligated to engage a qualified art consultant. We seem to have given them a pass on that requirement, and I suspect it's because there had been so much city staff turnover, and also the project was initiated under a different arts commission with a different head of public art, the different chair of the public art committee. So I just want to make sure we're, crossing our T's, dotting our I's. They, under section 4-16.213, they are obligated to engage a qualified art consultant. Now, it's relevant because I have been urging us. I asked Robin at least 2 times. I asked Kiara. I have been regularly asking that we run a sort of request for qualifications for qualified art consultants. And I think that's something, Will, that you could put together. I'd be pleased to help you. I think it should go certainly in the Ojai Valley News, but it should go also in Ventura Star. The Public Art PAN, the Public Art Network, which is an entity of the Americans for the Arts, is a likely candidate for this sort of broad reach for qualified art consultants. But we do need to get that list updated. I mean, some people have passed away, some people are no longer doing it, some people have retired, some people, the list is way out of date, and for as long as I have been on this commission, it's been out of date. So let's take care of that, and also inform El Roblar that they're obligated to engage this person.
Christine, can I ask a question here? Have we followed that practice in the past? Because I know of several public art projects that did not use a outside consultant, I'm just wondering, when was that added, or was that always the case and it was just overlooked?
It's always the case under 4-16.213, and I do know that projects have, for example, the Ojai Valley Inn has used an art consultant, so I don't know which projects haven't, but certainly they should. And, we're back to, and it seems to be the constant refrain here, we are back to instituting best practices. So a best practice includes using a qualified art consultant, and let's just make sure we're doing what we're supposed to be doing for the appropriate functioning of public art in this town.
Absolutely, and I can tell you that the feedback I got from the public, that was a public meeting, I had about I had about 6 or 8 either comments or emails of people who absolutely said that it wasn't visible from the street. I had comments, and they were public comments at the meeting as well, that that even though it's not in the ordinance, but supporting our local artists was an important thing. Again, just a public comment on there. And I had one opposed, Christine Golden was supportive of that. And I think just because she liked the beautiful mural that they had proposed too. And it is a beautiful mural, and I think they may do it anyway, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful mural. Part of the confusion, it seems, is that, of course, they can commission anything they want in their lobby. That was never an issue. The issue is whether they can use that 50,000+ for art money for that. That's the only issue. Of course they can do whatever they want. That just is theirs rather than the city's. So we shall see what they come back with.
Seem like nice people and artsy
Oh, yeah,
people,
they're great, and, you know, the mural is lovely, it's just not visible from the nearest public right-of-way. And that's all.
So just to confirm, I'll have a look at that list and we'll see about how we can get revising that as quick as possible. Thank you.
I'll work with you on that, because I can let you know who's no longer.
For sure. We can have a conversation. Thank you.
Okay. Did I do the commissioner status, or do you want to?
I believe we have one more staff report. And this, I think you touched on this earlier, but it's item 9D, and it is ending off on some good news. So we are moving forward with 2 of the Arts Commission nominees. We are hoping to have, or we will have, the first vacant Arts Commissioner seat as a consent item on the March 26th City Council meeting.
We'll see.
And then we are currently planning to have the next vacant seat confirmation on the consent item of the following City Council meeting. So the
Great.
second will be confirmed later, but that is the plan currently.
Thank you. Good news.
That means if all goes well, we will have 5 commissioners in April.
If both consent items are
The April meeting.
approved by majority roll call of council, yes, you will have 2 commissioners available for the next April meeting, scheduled, yeah.
That's great news. Thank you, Will.
No worries.
Okay. Comment? Do you got anything to add, Pamela?
Well, thank you, everyone, for being here, and thank you, Nigel, and Colleen, and Leslie. Thank you for being here. I think that's it for me. I'm tired.
Well, you know, I think we have said our piece in terms of how distressed we are, and let's hope that, you know, we turn a new page and have a fresh outlook. I mean, I certainly agree with what Pam said. We could have had a broader discussion when Nigel presented, but, you know, I certainly, in listening to the recommendations of the ad hoc committee, while, you know, there could have been a quibble here or there, it certainly seemed appropriate. And I tell you, it was 180 degrees from the earlier process, and it was ever so much better. We also had, you know, technological issues. Nigel was calling in on Zoom, and that, you know, had a little bit of an interference. But, and, you know, yes, we could have had a broader discussion, but I think, first of all, it wasn't required, and second of all, it seemed that the ad hoc committee, with Nigel's guidance, had certainly done its job, and certainly those numbers seemed just what they should have been, and those who did not receive it, who thanks to the substituted judgment of the city council, then did get it, an award, I think they, you know, they should not have, and that is my comment on that.
Yeah. Thank you. And I'll just add, you know, to the public and to the council, to staff, you know, we kind of showed our soft white underbellies a little bit here today, but I want you to feel the passion that we have, because this is the energy that our citizens deserve. You know, this is the arts, you know, so this is a great place to start pulling people together and being good government. I don't think there has ever been more qualified, there's only 3 of us left here, more qualified people, volunteers, serving for the good of the community than I have on the Arts Commission right now. You know, Pam's experience, not just as an artist, but as an arts administrator in terms of serving something bigger than herself. She has just decades of experience. We have one of the top art attorneys in the world here sitting to my right. We have good people, and we want to, and they're here and they want to do good, and we want them to be passionate about being good. We're going to rebuild this commission, and it's going to be good commissioners, not good artists, because we have a plan now and we need to implement the plan. And for that, we need commissioners who can say their bit, who can argue their bit, and sometimes there'll be consensus, but sometimes there'll just be a majority. But at the end of the day, it's a commissioner election, and we all have to support what it is going forward. That's what the people deserve. That's what Thomas Jefferson, you know, did. If it was, and that's hard. It's hard, and I thank you guys for sticking around. I thank Nigel for your years of service, and thank you for letting us be a little bit passionate tonight. But we're committed to our plan moving forward, and we look forward to our joint meeting with council so that we can maybe find some rules by which to play nicer. All right.
Can I make a quick back comment? I mean,
You may. It's commissioner comment time.
Well, one of the things about the 5-year plan that was excellent was the streamlining of process to allow us to move quickly. You know, for example, I'm allowed to decide on who's going to give these enrichment seminars, and I know that I have your support. Sometimes I think that's what happened, maybe perhaps the breakdown was we were moving, and we were, if people look at, we were doing things and we were getting things done, and the city council decision sort of took the wind out of us. And for that, we're wounded, but I'm prepared to just get back on and be happy again. And
Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Christine. We have a council liaison, Ms. Leslie Rule. I wonder, did you have some comments for us, Leslie? We're so glad that you're here.
So, thank you, committee members, for allowing me to, first of all, to thank you for your service. This is the first Arts Council, Arts Committee meeting that I have been to, Arts Commission meeting that I have been to. So this was really wonderful, and I had really not seen you guys in action, and I think it's wonderful, and I think that you are a highly balanced, functional committee from what I have seen. In other words, the sum of your parts the whole is greater than the sum of your parts because of who you are and how you interact. And so that was really great. So thank you very much. I am so sorry to have wounded you so deeply and to have caused so much consternation and upset in the arts community. A couple of things I want to say, which is I was not being flippant when I said that City Council has not always followed Commission's recommendations. We had the Park and Rec Commission who put out for an $11,000 study and came back with recommendations, and the City Council did not follow any of them. So I hope you don't feel that this was pointed sort of towards you. And I will speak for myself. To me, and when Smitty and I talked, you may say that some things were not a Brown Act violation, but I talked to the city manager and to the city attorney, and things were spoken about and decided that were not agendized on the agenda. and that is a Brown Act violation, and it did lead directly to the spending of city money. I will also point out that I am being sued by 8 citizens of the Ojai Valley for having breached the Brown Act, and we are now at $120,000. So I take the Brown Act very seriously. Their suit is to have a judge declare that I will never violate the Brown Act again. So I take the Brown Act very seriously, and I take my responsibility towards the Brown Act very seriously. And I believe that there was a Brown Act violation, and I believe that it led to the spending of city funds. And that means a fiduciary duty. And so that is why I voted as I did. And I talked to Chair West first, and I said that I was going to delve deeper and find out if indeed there was Brown Act violation. That doesn't mean that everything was a Brown Act violation. It means that there were Brown Act violations, okay? And I understand that the information that you got, you thought that it wasn't a Brown Act violation. The 3 of you stopping me in the hallway was a Brown Act violation. The 3 of you cannot be together espousing a particular position, right, to a city council person. To Nigel's point, actually, you could have had 2 people at an ad hoc meeting.
No, we couldn't, because there's only 4 on the motion. By the way, it's not a Brown Act violation, you're wrong.
No, I'm not,
Let's-
excuse
sorry.
me, I'm not going to, excuse me.
So I'd like to step in. Can we please not have any conversations with the audience? Thank you.
Yes. And Chair Smitty, I would expect you to keep, I would expect you to keep this order. And we can have that discussion, if you would like, at the combined meeting, if that's what you want to do.
Absolutely.
Or we could decide to move forward. It is whatever whatever, I mean, the city council, you serve at the pleasure of the city council.
Yes.
And it's not, we substituted our findings for yours. It's not a substitution. You gave a recommendation to us, and we chose to take it or not.
Without even reading the applications.
It wasn't about that for me. It wasn't about that for me.
Why didn't you remand it then?
That also was not an option that came up. And it wasn't about that for me either. Okay? It was about the Brown Act violation.
But
Can
you
I
could have
ask-
remanded.
Yeah, sure.
I'm still really confused about that statement. Because I personally don't understand how we were in violation.
You did not
Is it-
agenda.
Is it maybe possible that we
yeah.
ask staff to give, not now,
Right.
but give us something in
Yeah,
writing?
and we can
If
do
we did
that.
something wrong,
I'm
tell us.
equally
I
you
really
know.
don't.
There's many ways to have a Brown Act violation. Not having something on the agenda that you discuss and you decide on is a Brown Act violation. Everything you talk about has to be
Who is our
agendized.
expert? I mean, who do we go to
But
for
wasn't,
the?
the grants were on the agenda.
Yeah,
and
what
we
The ad hoc
discussed-
committee was not on the agenda. The ad hoc committee was not on the agenda.
I understand
But-
that.
So,
Yeah,
so right
You made
there.
that clear. You made that clear.
I did, and I had a long discussion with Chair Smitty about my feelings on this matter. There's many ways to have Brown Act violations. That happens to be one of the most serious, is that you have discussion and decisions made when the item was not agendized because the public doesn't know what the public's business is being done at this particular time.
But the grants were on, and at the November meeting, it was stated that there would be an ad hoc committee. So if that's the predicate to
It has to be on the agenda. It has to be on the agenda. It has
We're
to
not
be
gonna-
an
we're not
item
gonna,
number.
I don't think solve.
Yeah, we're not
an
going to solve
argument
it,
here
but I
tonight,
want you
but
to understand
I
that
would
that
like
it
to-
was
I
not.
would ask for clear guidance
Right.
from whoever the boss is about Brown
Right,
Act.
and we actually,
Attorney, I
yeah,
guess.
we actually discussed this during that particular meeting about whether or not it was agendized. But anyway, you're right. My point being is that it was not capricious on my part. It had to do with what my obligation was. And yes, we could have done other things. We could have rolled it over to the next year. There
Could have
were
read the applications.
there were but that's not the germane part of the question. That's not the germane part of the question. And so it's not about did I read the applications or not. That wasn't the basis of my decision, okay? That wasn't it. So had I read it, had I known every artist, had I deemed them worthy or unworthy, that was not the basis or the criteria I was using. So that having been said, I just want you to know where I was coming from, that you can't appoint an ad hoc commission.
It's not personal. So
Yes.
that's-
Well, it sounded real personal. Not necessarily to me, although a little bit, but it sounded real personal, it sounded real mean, and there was a lot of misinformation in the public comments that were spoken. There was a lot of opinion, there was a lot of,
Well, that was our public comment.
yeah,
so-
and perfectly within their rights to do so. Perfectly within their rights to do so. So, and so I don't have any issue with that. People can be as mean-spirited and as they want to be, and they can be as, you can follow your logic to whatever place it takes you and feel free to say that publicly about people. That's fine. It is your right, your First Amendment right in public speaking to do so at public comment. So I allow it. I don't allow it. It is your right to do so.
Tolerate,
Yeah, it is your right to do so. Anyone can come up and say anything. And unless you disrupt a meeting, it is your right to say whatever you want, including,
How about council liaison comments? Please give us something
Yeah.
upbeat.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to get, so I had a couple of questions. Are you planning to go to 7 seats? Because I know that was, so if you're going to get to 5, are you planning to go to 7, or is that still to
Well,
be
we
discussed?
have that flexibility thank you for giving that to us. We have a plan that needs bodies, and they either need bodies on commission or ad hoc committees,
Right.
and both of those is part. And we love the idea of using public, every time we've used an ad hoc committee, whether it be for murals or for Kappa or for,
Right.
we've had great experience and very enthusiastic support from the art professionals in our community. So we need, to do our plan, we need more than just 3 people sitting up here. So
Yeah, I was just curious, just
we're
as
going
a
to see
question.
who we get and where our holes
where you're
are
gonna
and
go.
where that could be plugged.
Right.
We wanted that option. That's why we asked for it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing,
I
I'm
would
sorry?
add to that,
Yeah.
that as you can see, we work very well together.
Very
And I
well.
think collegiality and steady state is enormously important. And so my view is that we need to have our 5 have some stability
Mm-hmm.
before we even make a determination about moving to 7.
Makes perfect sense, thank you. I was just curious if you had discussed it, yeah.
And I know that there's been some revision about how members are chosen.
We're confused right now.
Okay, because,
We need clarity.
well, it's very important that we are able to work together, because you saw the
Yeah.
examples of what happens when you just
Yeah.
randomly put people on.
I totally get that, and,
Okay.
I think that the old model of having, this is where we are now, the mayor, the council member who is, putting forth the recommendation, the 3 of them sit down and actually discuss, as opposed to a piecemeal.
Yeah.
Where
Let's-
someone talks to someone and someone, and they talk there, and we don't know what conversations were had. We don't know, we haven't seen how it really works, even the 3, that aren't part of the commission, but you get a better sense of how people work in a group. So,
That was the system under which I was appointed, and I thought it was a very good system.
I thought it was a very good system too.
Well, we look forward to it.
yes,
Like, as I said, we
yes,
want good
yes.
commissioners.
Yeah, of course.
And a good commissioner
Right.
will speak their mind and speak from their experience and their wisdom, and sometimes they will not be part of the majority, and their job is to still be a good commissioner.
Oh,
and-
yeah,
and-
yeah.
and
I
not-
mean,
and not
I look at the
fight
range.
against it. Yeah.
I look at the range here, and I see the the certain areas of expertise. I see the personalities. I see how it works, how it gels, and it's really great. It's great. And so I definitely understand the need to have a cohesive body that works together regardless of, what your expertise is or where you come from, but do you work together as a collective? That's really important, and only someone on the commission could really know whether that would work in that way. So I fully support that. However, we can make that happen given the makeup that we have now, which is one council member, the mayor, and the chair.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And then you and I talked a lot about the technology, and the hub, and just being a place where, all of Ojai art is. So there have to be software packages, on, off-the-shelf software packages that are meant for this. And perhaps we could talk to staff and IT to say, can you potentially go look at a few of them and give us a recommendation, and you can look at what kind of functionality actually exists in this off-the-shelf software package, and what kind of, two-way communication modules exist as well. So that seems to me to be something that IT could certainly do, because, this isn't anyone's first rodeo on this kind of stuff. And art is, it's just so integral to Ojai, right? I mean, it's just so integral. So I would say that that might be a recommendation to IT and to staff to go look at some off-the-shelf functionality that can be, a plug and play, and then we can start putting in all the art stuff that we need to put in, whether it's images, locations, GI, whatever it happens to be.
Well, I would like council to look at it for the whole city, because we're excited and want to push it ahead, and I know we can do it, and I think it'll be a great example for, the grants. I just went through the county grants process myself, and they have it as a,
Yeah.
As a thing, and because there's a lot more grants than just Arts Commission grants. You guys do grants too, and we apply for grants too.
Yeah, to the extent that we do.
It does need,
The whole,
we either
yeah.
need sort of freedom to go ahead and do that, or we want to be part of a bigger picture to do that.
Right, and so that is.
We need your help there.
That is one of our that is one of our priorities, is, the communication, and that's going to be coming back to council, how we better communicate with the population and the citizens and the constituents. Just as a recommendation, I'd say you guys should move ahead on your own and get that plug and play module and get it going. But, that's just me, because although these priorities are for this year.
Can we make
So-
an ad hoc committee?
As long as you agendize it.
It's agendized.
If it has to be agendized.
You're a straight man. I set you up for that.
I know. Thank you. You were being kind to me, and I really appreciate it. So, and I know you were. So that is, and I can talk to the city manager about that. But there's no doubt that he would certainly work with you and Will and James Hahn and to get that done. I have some other questions, but it has been a long meeting. I don't fully understand the CAPA process, but I did notice that the El Roblar had put in a fair amount of money for lodging and kind of these things that, for the artists, that wasn't really directly related to art. It was more like, well, he's going to have $20,000 worth of lodging or whatever it was. And I don't really understand the CAPA process, but,
I can explain it to you.
yeah, thank you.
Now? Or-
No, you know what? Let's have a cup of coffee, and maybe we can try to figure out a way to move forward where there's not so much wounding and so much hurt. There's so much hurt already.
I don't feel wounded, I feel insulted. And I
Oh, well,
think we
someone
all
said
feel-
wounded. No, I mean, someone said wounded. If you're insulted, I apologize. I don't know. I did what I
Well,
thought was
I think
right
if-
as a council member, and I stand by what I did, and I stand by doing what I thought was right. And I just wanted you to understand sort of where I was coming from. And there was no conspiracy. For me, it simply was a Brown Act thing. And because I have stuck my stake in the ground on that,
Yeah,
and
well,
money
it
was
could have been 4 to
attached. I
1.
had to do what I had
You
to
could have
do.
lost
But you know
4 to
what?
1.
One of the things that, I'm just saying this, that concerns me is we get stuck on these minutia things. And I'm not saying the Brown Act is minutia, but it hurts so many people in our community in terms of not being, the film societies and all those free films in the summer might not happen if they don't, because they don't have the funding now.
Right.
The Ojai Studio Tour might not be able to do what they could, all these really important organizations are because of somebody's concern. I'm not sure, I still don't get the Brown Act thing, but I mean, I get the Brown Act thing, but I don't see how we were in violation per se. It's like it hurts so many in our community. And
Right.
sometimes we get stuck on these small things that could be resolved with more heart. And that's what I mean, I watch the city council meetings, and I'm so sad at all this animosity that comes through. I mean, I wish we could go back to a time where we all thought of the greater good and came from a place of greater good rather than getting really snarky. Now,
Yeah, no, I don't know what to say about that other than,
I
nobody.
appreciate your
Yeah.
comment, but again, I think thinking about the greater good, let's try to move our city in that direction. And we're kind
I think we all joined commissions and council to serve the greater good, really. So anyway, that's kind of, I think that's, there were I took a lot of notes, but I think that's quite
You'll find
enough.
the CAPA is a really cool organization. I salute the commissioners
Yeah.
that came before me that created this idea. And, this is the citizens' money that goes in a pot, There's sort of an exception where a local, business can, and when they've done it, like I'm thinking of the inn and all too, they go overboard and they spend even more money on something
Yeah.
like
And
that.
they do in lieu.
We want to
and-
make
yeah.
sure that, but the main thing is to create a pot to be used for the public good in art and, not to get a free paint job, right?
Right,
Right.
of course, of course. All
All
right,
right.
so that's
Thank
all.
you.
Does anyone have any questions for me? I'm happy to answer any otherwise. Yes, please.
So because we're the Arts Commission, we're all visual people.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. And I'm curious about the tableau that you typically have at your place, at the dais, if you could tell us a bit about that.
Would you like me to tell you the story of that?
I have been deeply fascinated.
It was probably 6 months ago, in the height of the worst of it. 2 energy healers from Ojai called me up, and they said, I can see you absorb some very toxic energy. And I might have some suggestions. We have some suggestions on how you might be able to reflect that away from you. And part of it was not wearing black, wearing white. Part of it was putting crystals and glass and reflective materials in front of you. You might notice I used to have a mirror there till my dog's tail, womp, and broke it. But
7 years.
yeah, but it was really about, and putting an energy field around yourself, because I was going home and I was sick for days. Like, there was so much toxicity in me, right? So that was what that was about. And they came over and they showed me some techniques and they gave me some stuff. And they said, put this in front of you and put a couple of things that you truly love to protect yourself from what comes your way.
Thank you.
So,
Has it been working?
actually, it was.
Didn't work this meeting.
No.
You should've
Well,
brought a
I
bunch.
didn't have my stuff. When I actually give full mindfulness to it, it works exceedingly well. But I'm a slacker sometimes.
Yeah, you have
you
to
know.
let that stuff go through. You can't.
Yeah, I need to put up my shields. I need to do all of that. Anyway, it works enough. I'm not sick for days and days now after a meeting. I'm only sick for a day. So it's all good. Thank you for asking. Yes.
Right.
So I
Thank you,
guess,
Leslie.
yes, we're good. Thank
Are
you.
you got another one, or is that your last meeting?
Tonight?
Yeah.
There was one I've missed, but I'm perfectly happy
Well,
not.
I mean, are you the next month?
Oh, no, I'm done.
You're
You
all
guys will
done?
never see me. You won't see me for a year.
Good.
Well, we gave you a.
There we go.
Well, there's a great send-off.
Yeah, and I, no
thank you
offense
for your
taken.
service,
Yes,
Leslie.
thank you.
But seriously, we would appreciate it if you would bring back to your colleagues what you heard here tonight.
I definitely will. And I think to your point, I don't know that I really understood the degree to which it might actually throw a monkey wrench into the budgets of some of these arts organizations, just simply because a lot of them I wasn't familiar with. And I don't know what I would have done with that had I had that piece of information. I'm sorry that I didn't, and I appreciate you telling me now so that I better understand. So
Leslie.
thank you.
And thank you for being the only council
Thank you.
person that actually did talk to us, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, just for future, just put a stake in there. Maybe the council, if there is something like this that comes up in the future, can maybe pause and come back to us and say, hey, can we do this differently? Because we certainly would have had another meeting publicly to resolve the things that seemed out of place.
Absolutely, if it had been remanded, or that's
would've-
one piece we would have done it. The other that was so frankly shocking to me is that 2 meetings earlier, both Smitty and I spoke to council. And then at the meeting where you took the vote, the people who spoke to you were former commissioners, and those opinions, quote unquote, were privileged above those of your current arts commissioners, and that seems both inappropriate and unfair. We don't need a shadow arts commission made up of commissioners who have resigned their positions.
Right.
We are the arts commission.
No, I agree.
Until you
Yeah.
fire us.
Right. The only thing that weighed on me was the fact that the previous process had been developed with the council. And while you had a 5-year plan, like the specifics, outreach to the community, it falls, what you did falls under that for sure. But that's a very broad goal, right? So, and because of how this played out, and it was, there was such discord, that weighed on me that the previous process, no matter how flawed it was or how perverted it became after however many years, I'm not saying it was because I don't want to get, I don't want to get anybody mad, but no matter how it had sort of evolved into something that was not functional, it was still a process that had been developed in coordination with the city council. And so for me, I'm assuming that's what
That's what you were told, but who
Yeah.
knows if that's true, and under the
No, because it's always been a consent item, just like it was this year. That's why it was stuck on as a consent
I think
item.
the
But I think what-
process of.
Yeah, the process, but that
yeah.
process was superseded by our 5-year plan, which was reviewed by and approved by, not only by us after,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
extensive, but also by you. And so that was a bit
Yeah,
of a
no,
shock to
I-
me that we were
yeah.
talking about, quote, the old way, which was wholly superseded.
Right. I think it wasn't the old way, it was that the old way was developed together with the city council.
If that is true.
Right.
Actually, I'd say that's not true, because I
Not
used
true.
to be,
We
I used
did
to
it
be
the
on the
old
Arts
way.
Commission.
Right.
I was on the Arts Commission in 2015 and 16, or 14 and 15, and at that time, that's not what we did.
Okay, so here comes something else. People come up and make public comment, and you want to take the public's comment and you want to believe that people who have history and, who have shown up want to give you the correct knowledge. But in fact, people come up and make up stuff, right? So what happens then is we get put in a weird position, as I'm sure you do, because we're not supposed to come up with our minds made up. We're supposed to listen to the public with the idea that the public has experience that we don't have, has ideas. It's a crowdsourcing. Not only is it institutional knowledge, but it's a type of crowdsourcing. But once again, half the time, number one, you don't know if it's true, and number two, a quarter of the time it's not. But there's no evidence, So once again, it's just in this,
That's our job as governor, as
Yeah.
a representative. You
Right,
need to
yeah.
hold more than
Right,
one
and
thought
to-
in your
and
mind
to
at
re-
once.
to evaluate the comments that are made to you based on who's making them, do they have any motivation, all these kinds of things that come your way.
Right, but the point you make is the point you make precisely underscores what both Smitty and Pam said, which is that if you as legislators have a certain question, circle back to your commissioners to get what is
Wherever your experts are.
we're the experts in the
Yes.
area.
Okay.
Yes,
Well,
thank you.
let's-
I don't want to take any more of your time. I appreciate all of your comments. Know that I would never have insulted or wounded, but I had to be true to what I thought was the right thing for me to do. And now you know the reasons behind it, and we can agree to disagree, or we can agree that reasonable people sometimes can disagree, and they make decisions that you don't necessarily agree with, but it was a reasoned decision. So anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
We're sorry that this is your last meeting.
I am too, actually, but it is what it is.
Okay, so I'm going to adjourn here and thank everybody for such a spirited and heartfelt discussion. We're going to get back to our plan because that's what we operate from. And until April 18th, 6 p.m., right here in City Hall, this meeting's adjourned.
Thank you, Smitty.
I have no.
Thank you, Will, much appreciated. Thank you. Nice to meet you. Yeah, good luck. Yes. Same to you. Although, if